everyone, welcome to back my channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before starting the video, please go ahead and hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. After discovering Darren's business cards abandoned in the woods, Frankie and Jack set up a search party for him. In the dog, Frankie demands that people tell her the truth and stop trying to protect her. Meanwhile, Leela tries to get out of helping to search for Darren. In the woods, Leela runs off, telling Joel and Perry to leave her alone. While helping with the twins' christening prep, Joel asks Mercedes if she thinks anything is wrong with Leela. Joel tells Mercedes about Leela's panic attack in the woods. Mercedes rushes out, telling Joel that she's going to see Leela and leaving him to lock up Qasim McQueen. Elsewhere, Abe takes Clara to visit Cleo, who asks if things are awkward between him and Perry, believing they've broken up. Abe continues to lie. Also today, Jez wants his family back together, but Dilly still thinks Tiana is guilty. John Paul tells Jez he can stay at the McQueens as long as he needs. However, Jez snaps at his partner, telling him it's not his home. Hollyoaks spoiler: the search for Darren intensifies. It was a crisp morning in Hollyoaks Village, but the air was heavy with tension. Darren Osborne's disappearance had shaken the community, leaving many questions unanswered. His sudden vanishing act was out of character, and his absence lingered like a storm cloud over the people who loved him. The search had officially begun, but as the hours stretched into days, hope seemed to dwindle. Nancy's determination. Nancy Osborne had barely slept since Darren went missing. Dark circles formed under her eyes, but she refused to rest. She sat in the dog in the pond, poring over a map of the village, her fingers tracing the areas already searched. "This isn't like him," she muttered, her voice cracking with emotion. "He wouldn't just leave." Next to her sat Jack Osborne, his face lined with worry. "We'll find him, love. Darren's tough, he's been through worse." Nancy nodded, but her mind was racing with possibilities. Had Darren been taken? Did he leave on his own? None of it made sense, and the lack of answers gnawed at her. She picked up her phone and made another call, this time to D.S. Cohen. "There has to be something you're missing," Nancy pleaded. "A clue, anything." D.S. Cohen's tone was calm but firm. "We're doing everything we can. We've got officers combing the woods, and we've reviewed CCTV footage from the village. But there's no sign of him." Nancy's hand trembled as she hung up. She looked at Jack. "If the police can't find him, we will. I'm not giving up." A mysterious lead. Meanwhile, in the shadows, Robbie Roscoe watched the village's frantic search unfold from a distance. His usual cocky demeanor was replaced with concern. He and Darren hadn't always seen eye to eye, but this was different. Robbie knew the underworld of Hollyoaks better than most, and he had a gut feeling that Darren's disappearance wasn't random. He made his way to the garage, where his brother Donnie was working under the hood of an old car. "Donnie, I need your help," Robbie said, his voice low. Donnie wiped his hands on a rag and gave his brother a curious look. "Help with what? Another dodgy deal?" "No," Robbie said, shaking his head. "It's Darren, he's missing, and I think I know where to start looking." Donnie frowned. "You think someone's got him?" "Maybe," Robbie replied. "There's been some talk, whispers about a new loan shark operating nearby. Darren's been in money trouble before. What if he's gotten himself in over his head again?" Donnie sighed. "And you want to go after them?" Robbie's eyes flashed with determination. "Someone has to." An unexpected ally. Later that day, Robbie met up with James Nightingale at the loft. James was nursing a glass of whiskey, his sharp eyes narrowing as Robbie approached. "I need information," Robbie said without preamble. James raised an eyebrow. "And what makes you think I have any?" "Because you always do," Robbie replied. "You hear things. I'm looking for someone who might be involved in Darren's disappearance. A loan shark, new in town." James swirled the amber liquid in his glass thoughtfully. "There is a name floating around," he admitted. "Victor, but not the one you're thinking of. He's kept a low profile, but people who cross him tend to vanish. Robbie's jaw tightened. Where do I find him? James smirked. Now, why would I give that information away for free? Robbie leaned in, his voice a growl. Because if Darren's life is on the line, you'll want to be on the right side of this. After a tense moment, James relented. There's a warehouse on the outskirts of the village. If Victor's involved, that's where you'll find him. The warehouse confrontation. Under the cover of darkness, Robbie and Donnie approached the warehouse. The air was thick with tension as they crept closer, the faint hum of machinery the only sound breaking the silence. They slipped inside, the dim light casting long shadows across the cavernous space. Robbie's heart pounded as they moved through the rows of crates and equipment. A muffled voice drew their attention. Robbie motioned for Donnie to follow as they edged closer. There, tied to a chair in the center of the room, was Darren. His face was bruised, his clothes torn, but his eyes were alert. Darren, Robbie hissed. Darren's head snapped up. Robbie? What the hell are you doing here? No time, Robbie said as he worked to untie the ropes. A low, menacing voice echoed through the warehouse. Leaving so soon? Robbie turned to see Victor and two of his henchmen standing in the doorway, blocking their escape. A desperate escape. Victor stepped forward, a smirk on his face. You should have stayed out of this, Roscoe. Robbie clenched his fists. Let us go and no one gets hurt. Victor laughed. You think I'm scared of you? In a flash, chaos erupted. Donnie lunged at one of the henchmen, while Robbie squared off with Victor. Darren, still weak, scrambled to his feet and joined the fray. Blows were exchanged, the sound of fists meeting flesh echoing through the warehouse. Robbie managed to knock Victor to the ground, grabbing Darren and pulling him toward the exit. Run, Robbie shouted. The three of them burst into the night, adrenaline propelling them forward. It didn't stop until they reached the safety of the village. Home, but not safe. Back at the dog, Nancy threw her arms around Darren, tears streaming down her face. I thought I lost you, she whispered. You almost did, Darren replied, his voice hoarse. But Robbie and Donnie saved me. Robbie, still catching his breath, gave a weary smile. Don't get used to it. As the village breathed a collective sigh of relief, one thing was clear, Darren was safe, but the danger wasn't over. Victor wouldn't forget this, and the shadows of Hollyoaks were only growing darker. Thanks for watching this video, and please subscribe our Hollyoaks Update YouTube channel for more update news.